I would want to ask you, what's your definition of success?
I think that's a great question. I love this topic. I know that you're going to have a lot to say about this. I would say, interestingly enough, I had this conversation with my kids not too long ago because my youngest son, who plays tennis, walked out of a match that he lost and said, I failed. I'm a failure. And I'm like, whoa. I didn't even think that we needed to define what this word is for you. I said, but let me explain something to you. So I would say that first and foremost, successful people don't really look at failure the way the average person does. I think you would agree, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the real definition of failure is someone who just quits. And if you're not quitting, then you're learning. So if you fail at something, then there's a lesson. There's something to be taught. There's something that you learn. And I would say, just like you pay a tuition to go to school, success requires a payment. And failure is part of that cost. So there's just learning. There's no, at the end of the day, it's not about whether I didn't succeed at something. It's taking the lessons that you learned along the way and redefining or sharpening up what it is that you're looking to do. Let's take a look at anything good that was ever invented, any successful business. If you talk to those individuals, if you talk to those inventors, they will tell you that they failed over and over and over. And I would say they never really failed, because the definition of failure, according to the average person, is I failed and that's it. I stopped. I quit. Those inventors, those very successful business people, took those as lessons, tried again, kept sharpening their skills. And, there's definitely certain qualities that you would see in a successful person. Number one, I would say that they're very clear on what they want to accomplish. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to fail along the way or in this path or journey that they're going to take, but they're very clear that this is what their target or this is what their goal is, and this is what they need to do to try and achieve it. Does that mean that you don't have to change or evolve some things? Sure, that might be the case. But they're very clear that this is what they're striving to accomplish. And I would say the other thing is they're consistent. A lot of people talk about being successful and doing anything it takes to be successful, but they're not really consistent in their daily habits, the things that you have to do every single day. That's like me saying I want to be healthy. I want to go to the gym and I'm going to work out. And then 1 week I'm in and 1 week I'm not in. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, if I want to be in shape, I've got to go consistently. And I'm gonna really see the results of that stuff maybe 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later. So they're not, very successful people aren't chasing that ultimate prize overnight. They understand you got to be consistent. They understand it's a grind. So I would say very clear on their vision, understand what the real definition of failure is. They're consistent. And then ultimately, I would say that they understand the power of networking. I don't think I have ever met any ultra successful person that didn't surround themselves, just have successful people that is part of their network. The saying is, your net worth is directly correlated to your network. 100% true.
Yeah, and when I'm thinking, as you say that, it's kind of like something similar what I wanted to say, but I think success is the journey, not the goal. A lot of people think I'm going to do this, and when I achieve this, I'm going to become successful. I don't really think it's the ending point. It's the journey, the success. Because I think success is temporary. It's not permanent. So you can be successful today and you sit down and do nothing. Now you're going to become a failure because you stopped. So it's dynamic. I think it's a continuous way of looking for that success, which actually makes you successful.
100% agree.
I always think like the other day I listened to a podcast and they said a business is like riding a bicycle. You cannot stop, you cannot go back, you fail. So you have to keep going in order to keep straight, right? Without failing. So I think success is the journey, not the goal. And the other thing, as you were saying, I was also thinking on one of the mistakes I made, and I'm very sure you did a little bit of that as well. But when I moved to the US, being Mexican, you compare pricing on a lot of things. So the one thing that I wanted to save was on advice, on mentoring. Because a CPA costs this amount in Mexico, it costs 10 times in the US. An attorney, the same thing. And this, the same thing. So you made a lot of mistakes. So I realized that I didn't save anything. I ended up wasting a lot of money. And the most important thing, time. So in order to be successful, I think, as you said, networking is very important, and having the right mentors, I think, is extremely important to save time, to save resources, and not to get tired of failing that fast. Because I think there's people that fails, and we always joke with soccer, right? We love soccer, Diego, but I always think that soccer is like a comparison or a metaphor of life and even of business. So I really believe that the players that you watch on TV are not the best ones, but are the ones that didn't quit.